Okay, we're doing a short plat in City of Kirkland, and they require lot closure reports. Lot closure reports are essentially reports that are generated in AutoCAD or Carlson Survey that prove that the geometry that we're showing on the drawing matches the line work and that there's no errors in there. So it's basically just an auto-generated report that demonstrates that all the geometry and areas for the lots are correct. And it's pretty quick and it's pretty easy. And here's how you go about it. So let's just drum up some reports for this. Whenever you're doing a report, you are doing a report for each of the lots in here and for the overall boundary of the new of the short plat area. So let's create that report. Area layout, create lots, and then I usually do lot file by pick interior. And I usually just go with the default here. It's kind of quick and dirty, you know. The default, it's creating a lot file that's going to store this information. And for the CRD, we're just going to use our old CRD. So when you create these lots, it creates points at the lot corners. So I just, for the starting point number, I just put it up at 10,000. And check out these prompts here. I don't do prompt for block names, prompt for starting station, prompt for starting point. I don't do any of that. I don't want it to draw points clockwise, the point order, and then combine common angles. I think what that means is if you have a line with a segment in the middle of it, then it'll just blow through it. It won't do one line segment to here and then one line segment to here. Then hit OK. So now I'm going to pick inside this lot. And so it's detecting the boundaries of that lot, and it's going to run a report based on that. Lot name, by default, it's 1, so I'm just going to hit enter. And then I'll click the next lot, lot 2, and it defaults as the next number, lot 2. That's good. And then I'll just go down here for the right-of-way dedication. Oh, see, it used that arrow as a boundary, or that dimension as a boundary. So we're going to hit escape, and then we're going to isolate those couple layers. And I'm going to run it again. Area by, annotate, area layout, create lots, lot file by pick interior. Starting point number is the next available after the 10,000 range. Hit OK. All right, there. Now you can see that it highlighted my entire lot there. So we're just going to call this right-of-way dedication. All right, so now we got that. And now we need the overall boundary. So let's just isolate. Oh, let's put these on the VJ prop line layer so we can isolate that. Area, create lots, lot file by pick interior. Okay. And then I'm just going to call this overall. Okay, now we have literally, oh, that's, gotcha. DJ prop, all right, there we go. All right, so now we have created the lot reports, or the lot reports. Now we just got to generate the reports, and then we'll check the reports to the actual geometry out here. So we'll go lot file manager. And by default, it's going to select the lot file that you just created. Here's the lots. There's lot 1, lot 2. And look, you can kind of see the lot that it pertains to when you select it. It's kind of handy. And then you just hit, so select them all. You can hit select all over here as well, and then hit report. And then we'll go lot report. And here's the lot report. So lot 1 You know what? Let's save it and then we'll go over the details here momentarily. So we'll save it and we'll put it. I'm going to name it like I named the surveys because I know I'm about ready to. Just going to name it. I'm going to copy a deliverable naming convention so that when I print it, I won't have to think about it. And I'll save it under calculations, lot closures, and I'm just going to use a similar naming convention for our deliverables. Lot closures. Okay, then we'll close this and close this. And then we will go into calculations, lot closures, and then we'll open this guy. There's a few things that I do. For the most part, everything's good here. There's a few things I do for formatting. If you do this or don't do this, I don't really care. I'm just a little OCD. One thing I don't like is that it calls it block 1 type lot. That doesn't mean anything to anybody. And so I just look for that throughout the report and replace it with nothing. So it basically deletes it. And then the other thing I replace, I don't like the spacing here. Again, if you do this, cool. If you don't, you're probably just not OCD like me. So I'm going to replace all SF with a space with SF without a space. Then I'll hit replace all, and then it'll remove that space. Okay. Then I'll hit save as, and I'm going to pull this report to the side, and then we'll check to make sure that the report actually represents the geometry that we show here. And this is the whole point of these lot reports. The municipalities, they want to see these reports that are auto-generated by CAD so that they can check them against the geometry here to see if you got any errors in your annotations. But what we're going to do is, because occasionally there are rounding errors, we're going to make sure that these actually match. So it might be that we actually have a mistake and this will actually help us catch it. Or we might find that there's a rounding error somewhere in here, in which case we're going to manually update this report. So we're doing two things. We're going to make sure our geometry here is correct, and we're going to make sure that any rounding errors that we've dealt with in the drawing are reflected in here, and that this isn't going to cause a red flag at the city. So starts at point number 10,000, and we're going to go around lot 1. And you'll see it starts at 10,000, and then it goes a bearing and a distance to the resulting coordinate number at 10,001, right? And then another bearing and distance. And it's got all the geometry all the way around to the beginning, and then it also includes the area there. So we're just going to track that around. South 1, 1708, 120. Yep. And that's to 10,001 right there. And then it goes north 88, 36, 37, 6403. Great. And it goes to a radius here. Radius 15, the length is 2353, check. Delta angle is 89, 53, 45, check. And then it goes to the PT there. And then north 1708, east 105.03, check. And then south 88, 36, 37, 79 feet, and check. And the area, well, we'll edit this text here, obviously, because it's not unit, but the area is 9423.22 acres. So that geometry is good. Now let's go check out lot 2. One thing I've noticed about these lot closures with pick interior is it always starts at the most northeasterly corner and goes clockwise. So that's kind of helpful when you're finding the beginning, or you can just inverse to this point to find that beginning. South 1, 1708, 120 feet, check. North 88, 36, 37, 81 west, 81 feet. North 117.08 east, 120 feet, check. South 88.36.37 east, 81 feet, check. Area 9720, 22 acres. Cool. I mean 0.22 acres. All right, right-of-way dedication. And it's starting here, undoubtedly. South 01, 1708, west, 20 feet, check. North 88, 36, 37 west, 160 feet, 160 feet, check. North 11708, 34.97 feet, check. And that's coming back on this radius here. Radius 15, length 2353, delta 895345, check. There's a lot more information in here, but just remember this is just providing thorough geometry. You're just trying to make sure that the geometry listed here matches the geometry here. We don't need to go in here and check to make sure that your tangent, matches what it is in CAD. We're just trying to make sure that this is, remember the goal of this report is not to do something for the sake of doing something. We're trying to get something accomplished. We want to make sure that this is correct and that there's not any errors. And this report doesn't contain any errors, such as rounding errors that we might have had to employ in here that we're unaware of. So checking this doesn't, checking this information right here, that doesn't actually help us with those goals. So we're not going to do it. It's assumed that this is correct if this geometry is correct, because this is the geometry that's being represented on the short plat. All right, so let's keep going. South 88, 36, 37 east 143.03, and that's a check. We'll probably want to put an area in here. I don't think we actually need to do that. So we're not representing an area, so that's fine. You could put an area there, but I think we're going to put the area on the document that we actually end up recording. All right, now let's start. Now let's do the overall. So this is going to start up in the northeast corner. And south 01, 1708. East, 140 feet, check. North 88, 36, 37 west, 160 feet, check. And we're going clockwise. North 1, 1708. East, 140 feet, check. And south 88, 36, 37 east, 160 feet, check. And we could make sure that this area matches the sum of all these. Let's see. I always make sure there's no rounding errors by just adding up the last number here. So 2. So in lot 1, the singles digit is 2, plus 0 is 2, plus 8 is 0. And so the last digit ends in 0. So I could add these up with my calculator, but the reality is, it's going to be within a square foot. That's what the rounding error is going to be. So if I add up the singles place, 2 plus 0 of each, 2 plus 0 equals 2, plus 8 equals flat. If I have confidence that this number is just going to be within a foot and I need to make sure a square foot and I need to make sure there's no rounding errors, you can do that. You can add up the singles digit of all the numbers that you're summing together. And if it matches this singles digit, then you're good. So that's the way you can do that. So let's check just for kicks, let's check the acres. 2 plus 2, remember the singles digit is 4, plus 7 is 11. So the singles digit is a 1. So we're good. So you can just take the last digit and just add that up and see if that rounding error comes into effect comes into play down here. And if it does, then you can get your calculator up and add them all up. But that's just a little quick trick. All right, now you'll notice this number at the very bottom, block 1, total area, parcel number. This is just taking some of our area settings that we have currently in the drawing and kind of putting that text in there, like parcel number and things like that. This is the sum of all these areas, which most of the time it ends up being nonsensical, because you got lot 1, lot 2, and then right-of-way dedication, and that's the whole thing. And then you have the overall. So it's basically the whole short plat plus the overall. So it's going to be double the size. And so the number really doesn't make a difference. So I delete that. All right, cool. So we got ourselves a good report. We got good geometry in here. So I'm going to file, print. And I'm going to create a PDF of it. And when I create these PDFs, if you're drafting and you're going to have somebody review it, then you can just drop it in here. In fact, let me just do that just as practice. When I'm doing these, I just put them right in a deliverables folder. But let's put it where the draft person or the tech is going to put it for review. All right, so lot closure, and you'll notice it's txt-notepad. So just delete that part that doesn't make any sense. And just lot closures underscore the address 26020 and hit save. And boom, that's a lot closures report. So the guys down at the city are going to look at this and they're going to do exactly what we did, and they're going to cross-reference it. I will say, just a heads up, most of the time there is some kind of rounding error. And if you don't catch it, the city will, and it'll come back as a comment. Not the end of the world, but they do find this stuff. That being said, they require these lot closures for good reason. It's actually one thing that I happen to agree with. That's kind of some bureaucracy that ends up actually being pretty helpful. Because we run into plats and short plats all the time with bad geometry, and this helps you catch it. I actually use a similar system. I actually use a lot closure system to check my short plats, my condos, my plats, my BLAs, and I just use a little bit different process to check that. But this is kind of helpful, so I sort of agree with it. So that's lot closures, and I hope that helps. And have a great one.